What happens when you stop being the first to reach out? No more constant texting. No more waiting by the phone for that reply. At first, it may seem like you're giving up control, but in reality, you're doing something much more powerful. You're reclaiming it. In today's video, we're going to uncover the subtle yet profound shift that occurs when you decide to pull back and let the energy of the relationship reset. You might be surprised at what happens next. She'll start to notice the absence, the quiet, the shift in your behavior. It forces her to reevaluate, to question, and maybe even initiate the connection you once did. This isn't just about texting. It's about stepping into a space where your value isn't dependent on constant attention and where true emotional power is forged through stillness. So, if you're ready to explore the deep impact of this choice, the unseen shifts, and how you can use it to your advantage, stick around. You're about to learn what happens when you no longer text first. The shift in energy. Number one, the shift in energy. The moment you stop texting, first the dynamic changes. What was once a routine becomes an emotional test, mostly for her. She begins to notice your absence not because of words, but because of the energy you used to bring, that good morning text, that thoughtful check in after her long day, that quiet presence she took for granted. You weren't chasing, you were consistent. But consistency, when unnoticed, quietly retreats. At first, she may not say anything. She might even double down, thinking you're just being moody or distant. But soon, it's not just the silence she hears, it's the shift in your energy she feels. You're no longer the initiator, the emotional leader, and that unsettles her. Not because you're gone, but because you're no longer giving what you once gave so freely. That kind of stillness speaks volumes. Here's the Stoic angle. A man grounded in his values doesn't force connection. As Marcus Aurelius reminded us, never esteem anything as of advantage to you that will make you break your word or lose your self-respect. When the dynamic feels one-sided, a Stoic man steps back, not with resentment, but with self-respect. You didn't ghost, you didn't lash out. You simply stopped carrying both ends of the conversation. And with that, the power dynamic rebalances. She starts to reflect. Why isn't he reaching out? Did I lose something good? Was I even showing up the way he did? These questions don't come from your silence. They come from your absence of energy. The warmth that once held space for her has gone quiet. Not cold, just self-contained. You see, when your energy is no longer offered freely, it forces her to examine what it meant and why it's missing. And that, my friend, is the shift she can't ignore. Have you ever experienced this kind of shift with someone before? Let me know your thoughts below, or just drop this in the comments. True power is quiet, and before we dive into the next point, take a moment to reflect. Have you ever pulled your energy back, not out of bitterness, but out of respect for yourself, and watched the entire dynamic change without saying a word? That's the power of presence through restraint. It's subtle, it's stoic, and it's deeply effective. If this resonates with you, I'd love to hear your story. Share your thoughts in the comments, or simply leave this phrase to let others know. You understand the shift. True power is quiet. Number two, the weight of your absence. Your silence doesn't scream, it echoes the weight of your absence, and it makes her question what your presence actually meant. This space allows her to feel what she once took for granted. You didn't beg, you didn't explain, you didn't send a final message hoping she'd see your worth. No, you stepped back, and in doing so, you created a space where your value could finally be felt instead of just seen. You see, when a man removes himself, not out of spite, but out of self-respect, he creates contrast. Suddenly, the energy that once filled her life is no longer there. The good morning texts, the way you made her feel safe without asking for anything in return, the emotional steadiness you brought, all of it fades like a background hum. She didn't even realize she'd grown used to. And now that silence isn't just quiet, it's heavy. There's a Stoic lesson buried in this. As Marcus Aurelius once noted, the tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say or think or do, only what you do. You didn't leave to be missed. You left because you understood the value of your peace. You didn't give her the weight of your presence so she could misuse it. You gave it as a gift, and when she failed to appreciate it, you did the most disciplined thing a man can do. You took it away. Now every empty space where your energy used to exist whispers something different to her. Not through bitterness, not through blame, but through absence. And that weight, it lingers in ways attention never could. She may not tell you, she may not even admit it to herself, but make no mistake. Your silence, grounded in self-control and dignity, has left a louder mark than any words ever could. Number three, her curiosity. Her curiosity grows. When you're no longer the initiator, her mind starts racing. Is he losing interest? Did I do something? Your detachment invites reflection, not resentment. She may scroll back through old messages, wondering when the shift began. She might replay your last conversation, trying to read between the lines, looking for clues that were never actually spoken. And that silence, it isn't empty, it holds weight. You see, when you were always available, always reaching out, there was a certain predictability, comfort even, but the moment that pattern breaks, the emotional energy shifts. Now, instead of focusing on how much attention you give, she begins to wonder why it's no longer there. That's when curiosity turns inward. Not because you were cold, but because your absence quietly asks questions she never considered when you were present. This isn't about playing games. A stoic man doesn't manipulate. He simply lives in accordance with his values. If something feels one-sided, he steps back, not to provoke a reaction, but to protect his peace. And in that space, something powerful happens. Her mind begins to fill the silence with possibility. What was once taken for granted becomes something she wants to understand again. Philosophical note. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens, but how you react." And you've chosen stillness, not out of weakness, but wisdom. That choice creates a ripple effect. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, but it's deeply felt. Has she noticed? Absolutely. But what matters more is that you're no longer chasing answers. You've become the question. Number 4, you reclaim your power. Texting first all the time. Often you reclaim your power comes from fear. Fear of losing her, fear of silence. When you stop, you reclaim that power and shift from reacting to observing. You're no longer the man who anxiously reaches for his phone, hoping to keep her attention alive. You become the man who lets silence speak and energy return naturally. And trust me, she feels that because you're no longer offering your presence as a plea, you're offering it as a choice. This isn't about playing games or trying to win, it's about remembering your value. If your attention is always available, it loses weight. But when you take a step back, not out of bitterness, but out of self-respect, you give her the space to feel your absence. That's when things begin to shift. That's when she starts to ask herself, why did he stop? And in that question, curiosity is born. Stoicism reminds us of something powerful here. Control your impulses and you control your life. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And that's exactly what you're doing when you stop chasing and start observing. You're no longer led by fear, but by principle. Instead of wondering how to keep her interested, you ask yourself, does this dynamic serve my peace? That shift from seeking to standing still is where your strength returns. She may not say it out loud, but she notices the change. Your energy used to follow hers. Now it moves independently, and that kind of man, he's not just attractive, he's unforgettable. So ask yourself, brother, are you texting to connect or to escape the discomfort of being still? Because sometimes the most powerful move is the one where you say nothing and let your presence, now grounded, now intentional, do the work for you. That's the beauty of reclaiming your power. It doesn't come with noise or explanation. It comes with stillness, with restraint, with a quiet confidence that speaks louder than any double text ever could. So now I want to hear from you. What part of this message hit hardest for you? Was there a moment when you realized your value was being drained by always initiating? Drop your thoughts in the comments, or just write, "My silence has power now." Either way, your reflection matters. Let's keep growing, keep questioning, and most importantly, keep choosing ourselves first. Ready for the next truth. Let's move forward. Number 5, she feels the imbalance. Once the texting becomes one-sided, she can no longer deny it. The imbalance is now visible. And if she values the connection, she'll feel the urge to correct it. You see, in the beginning, she may not have noticed. Maybe it felt flattering that you always initiated, always reached out, always held space for the both of you. But as you step back, not out of bitterness, but from self-respect, something starts to shift. Now she's left with a silence she didn't expect, a space she used to rely on, you to fill. This is where the truth hits harder than any words could. Suddenly, the pattern changes. No good morning text, no late night check-in, no consistent validation. And in that absence, the weight of her own inaction becomes heavy. That's the imbalance she feels, not just in the communication, but in the emotional investment. It's not punishment. It's balance being restored. Because when one person stops carrying the whole connection, the other has two choices: step forward or let it fall. From a Stoic lens, this is the quiet strength of a man who's grounded, a man who doesn't need to be chased or praised, but also won't tolerate a dynamic built on chasing. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In this context, the revenge isn't cold or reactive. It's the calm decision to stop pouring effort into a cup that never refills yours. You're not withdrawing to create distance. You're rebalancing the energy. And if she truly values you, she'll sense it. Not through anger or confrontation, but through the discomfort of your calm. That's when she feels the imbalance. Not because you said anything, but because for the first time you didn't. Number 6, you gain clarity. Clarity by stepping back. You see more clearly who actually values you and who simply enjoyed the attention. Silence filters truth. And it's often in that space where you stop initiating, stop explaining, stop chasing, that the real picture starts to form. It's uncomfortable at first. The mind wants answers. The ego wants validation. But when you quiet that noise, you begin to notice something powerful. Her effort either rises to meet yours, or her absence confirms your suspicions. Let's say you were always the one reaching out, always texting first, always showing up. And the moment you stop, days go by and nothing. That's not confusion, that's clarity. That's reality showing itself without the mask of momentum. It's like Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth." And that's what this distance gives you. The truth, not the version you hoped for, but the one you need. When you pull your energy back, when you stop overextending, you're not being passive. You're practicing discernment. You're observing instead of assuming. And that's where a Stoic man gains his strength, not from controlling outcomes, but from reading reality as it is, not as he wishes it to be. You'll start to see patterns. The ones who only responded when it was convenient. The ones who grew quiet once you stopped pouring into them. And the few, very few, who reach back, who miss your presence, who notice your silence and respond with sincerity. Those are the ones worth your time. This kind of clarity doesn't come from more talking. It comes from stillness, from watching, from letting reality unfold without interruption. So if you're feeling unsure right now, don't run from that silence. Sit with it. Observe. Let it reveal. And remember, clarity isn't something you find in noise. It's something you earn by letting go. What have you started to see more clearly since stepping back? Number 7, she starts to mirror. She starts to mirror you. If there was emotional connection, your withdrawal might make her initiate more. The chase flips, not because you manipulated, but because you centered yourself. And here's the part most men overlook. When you stop overreaching, over-explaining, or trying to constantly keep the connection alive, something shifts in the dynamic. You stop orbiting around her, and instead, you become the center of your own gravity. That's when she starts to adjust. She notices the silence, not as punishment, but as presence, as contrast, as reflection. She begins to wonder why you're no longer texting first, why you seem at ease in the quiet, why you're no longer available on demand. That curiosity brews into action. She might reach out more, initiate conversations, or even start mirroring your language, your tone, your pace. Why? Because your calm has become contagious. Your detachment creates a subtle but powerful influence, not by force, but by frequency. The Stoics didn't teach us to withhold as a tactic. They taught us to live in accordance with our nature, not the chaos of another's whims. So when you withdraw, it's not a cold shoulder, it's clarity. You're no longer reacting to her rhythm, you've returned to your own. And in that space, she feels it not with panic, but with a pull, because deep down, most people mirror the energy that feels most grounded, and nothing is more grounding than a man who knows himself and doesn't flinch. So if she starts to mirror you, your stillness, your calm, your patience, it's not a trick. It's a response, a reflection of the shift you created by valuing your peace over her patterns. Have you ever noticed someone beginning to mirror your energy after you stop chasing? And that's the beauty of silent strength. It invites without demanding. It influences without control. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever seen this shift happen in real life? Has someone mirrored your calm, your silence, your detachment, maybe without even realizing it? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Or if you felt this shift before, just write, "She mirrored my energy when I stopped chasing." I read every comment, and your stories help others see they're not alone in this journey. Let's keep the conversation going, because the next insight might just change the way you see connection entirely. Number 8, you reset the tone. When you stop texting first, you reset the emotional tone. You're no longer available on demand. You become a man who values his time and energy, and whether she realizes it immediately or not, something subtle shifts in the dynamic. Suddenly, the rhythm she was used to, the constant reassurance, the quick replies, the emotional availability is gone. And in that absence, you introduce something powerful contrast. You're no longer chasing, you're choosing, you're not ignoring her. You're respecting yourself. That's a big difference. It shows her that you're not seeking connection at the cost of your dignity. You're no longer playing the role of the emotional supplier in a one sided exchange. Now you're showing what it looks like when a man pauses, breathes, and reclaims his inner stillness. Think of it like this. Before, the tone may have been casual, rushed, even taken for granted, but the moment you stop feeding into that loop, you rewrite the emotional script. Maybe she notices that you're not the first message in her inbox anymore. Maybe she starts wondering why your name hasn't popped up. That wondering, that space, is what resets the energy. A stoic man doesn't withdraw to punish. He steps back to realign. Like Marcus Aurelius said, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one. And sometimes being one means removing yourself from situations where you've been undervalued, not with noise or anger, but with quiet strength. You shift from proving to simply being. This new tone you set isn't aggressive. It's calm, intentional, and deeply rooted in self respect. And ironically, that's when she starts to lean in. Not because you're playing a game, but because she can feel the difference. It's not what you say, it's what you no longer give. So freely that speaks volumes. Number 9, you learn her true. You learn her true intentions. Intentions. Does she reach out genuinely or only when she senses your attention drifting? That question doesn't get answered through conversation. It gets answered through space. When you stop texting first, when you no longer chase, something powerful happens. You stop feeding the illusion and start observing reality. This is when her behavior begins to speak louder than her words ever could. A woman's true intentions aren't found in the sweet moments when everything's easy. They show up when you step back. If she only calls when she fears losing you, or only responds when she feels you pulling away, you're not dealing with affection. You're dealing with ego management. That's not connection, that's control. Let's say you always initiated, you were the one keeping the flow going. But the moment you stopped, there was silence, no effort, no curiosity, just a void where her interest should have shown up. That's not rejection, that's revelation, and that's a gift, not a loss. You see, a stoic man doesn't withhold to punish, he withdraws to see. Like Marcus Aurelius said, if someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change. But that requires truth, and truth needs space. So when you stop giving her unlimited access to your presence, you create an emotional mirror. What comes back isn't manipulation or guessing games. It's her raw intent. Does she value your energy or just the attention it brings her? Withholding your effort isn't cold, it's clarity. You're not bitter. You're simply done performing. You're observing with purpose. And in that stillness, her true nature steps forward. Number 10, you feel less anxious, no longer waiting for a reply. No, you feel less anxious longer, feeling like your day depends on a text. The second you stopped reaching out first, when you pulled back and gave space, you felt it. That slow, steady return to yourself. Suddenly, her silence didn't shake you, her delay didn't define you, and that restless energy you used to carry, it started to dissolve. You weren't glued to your phone, you weren't replaying conversations, you were breathing again. That's not weakness, that's emotional liberation. Let me give you an example. Think about a time when you were always available. Texting first, checking in, double texting when the replies got slow. That version of you was wired with anxiety, hoping that effort would lead to certainty. But when you stopped, when you let go, the mental noise quieted, the emotional fog lifted, and you realized something powerful. Your worth was never meant to be measured by how quickly someone replied. That's where Stoicism shows up, not in being cold, but in being clear. A stoic man doesn't obsess over what he can't control. He turns inward, sharpens his focus, and reclaims his peace. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And now your estimate has changed. You don't chase you, don't cling. You don't wait around to feel seen, because you've already looked inward and remembered who you are. And that right there, that's why you feel less anxious. Not because she changed, but because you did. And this is exactly the moment where I want you to pause and really think. How often have you handed your peace over to someone else's inconsistency? When you stopped texting first, it wasn't just about creating distance, it was about reclaiming clarity. So take a second to reflect. What did you learn about yourself in the silence? I'd love to hear from you. Drop your thoughts below, or simply leave this in the comments. Peace feels better than chasing. Let's keep this conversation going. Number 11, you become the prize. When you no longer seek constant, you become the prize connection. Your presence gains value. You're no longer just another option. You become the uncommon man. She remembers the man who doesn't beg for attention, the man who isn't desperate to fill silence, and most importantly, the man who holds his ground with quiet dignity. That shift in energy, it changes everything because suddenly, she's not dealing with someone who's trying to win her. She's facing someone who knows his worth. Let me put it this way. When you're always available, always chasing, always texting first, you train her to see you as a given. But the moment you detach from that role, not in bitterness, but with calm confidence, something starts to click. She begins to notice the space you used to fill. Your absence starts speaking louder than your words ever did. And that's when her perception shifts, not because you forced it, but because you stopped trying to be liked and started simply being yourself. The Stoics understood this well. They didn't chase people's approval. They mastered their own. You stop asking, am I good enough for her? And instead ask, is she even aligned with the kind of peace I'm protecting? You show up with your values, your purpose, and your self-respect intact. And whether she chooses to recognize that or not becomes irrelevant because you've already recognized it in yourself. Remember what Seneca said? He who is brave is free. The brave man isn't free because he gets everything he wants. He's free because he no longer needs it. And that's what makes you the prize. Not just to her, but to anyone who sees the way you move. Have you ever experienced that shift in energy when you stopped chasing and she started noticing the truth is a man's value? Conclusion isn't found in how often he texts, but in how grounded he stays when the response fades. When you no longer text first, you stop reaching and start attracting. You stop proving and start observing. You stop fearing distance and begin commanding respect. A Stoic man understands his silence isn't rejection. It's redirection toward peace, toward clarity, toward someone who matches his presence, not just his patience. If this message spoke to you, drop a comment below and let us know what part hit the hardest, or simply type, "No more chasing." And if you found this helpful, share it with someone who needs to hear this today. Until next time, protect your peace, honor your energy, and remember, sometimes silence is the loudest message of all.